It all began in the heart of the Roman Empire, one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen. But in 64 AD, something happened that would leave a permanent scar in history. One name echoes through the corridors of time: Nero. Nero was the emperor of Rome at that time. He was a man of contradictions. He was a ruler who sought fame, grandeur, and luxury, often at the expense of the people he governed. In 64 AD, Rome, the heart of the empire, was struck by a terrible disaster, the Great Fire of Rome. For 6 days, flames ravaged the city, reducing much of it to ash. It was a catastrophe nobody saw coming. But this very catastrophe gave rise to one of the darkest chapters in Christian history. Instead of Nero taking responsibility for the failure to control the fire, Nero turned his anger elsewhere. Desperate to deflect blame from himself and his administration, he needed a scapegoat, and his target was the Christians. The Roman Empire had always been suspicious of Christianity. The Christians refused to worship the Roman gods and acknowledge the emperor as divine. This was a very big threat to the Roman society. They were a new mysterious movement, and in the eyes of the emperor, they were expendable. So Nero blamed the Christians for the fire, accusing them of starting it in some twisted act of defiance against the empire. The truth, it didn't matter. The empire needed someone to blame, and the Christians would bear the weight of the Rome's wrath. What followed was nothing short of horror. The persecution of Christians under Nero became infamous for its cruelty and savagery. Christians were arrested, tortured, and executed in most brutal ways ever imagined. They were covered in animal skins, dressed like wild beasts, and then torn apart by dogs in the arena for the amusement of the Roman public. This wasn't just punishment, it was a spectacle designed to instill fear and remind the empire of the cost of defying the emperor. But it didn't stop there. Many Christians were crucified in public, their bodies left to hang as a warning to anyone who might dare follow their fate. The cruel irony: they were crucified like the man they believed to be their savior, Jesus, but their deaths were a far cry from the noble sacrifice they revered. Perhaps the most haunting of all was Nero's decision to burn the Christians alive. These innocent believers were tied to posts in the emperor's gardens and set alight to serve as living torch. Imagine being burned alive for following Jesus. Nero's own pleasure was derived from watching them burn. Their agonized cries filled the night as he hosted lavish parties, using their flames as decoration. Christians were turned into human torches, their screams blending with the crackling of fire, all for the sake of one man's twisted entertainment. This was just the beginning of a brutal persecution, a moment in history that would shape the fate of Christianity for centuries to come.